Hello and welcome to Amigos IAS. I am Adnan. Today, Lok Sabha has passed the bill on the appointment of the Chief Election Commissioner and other election commissioners. Earlier, the Rajya Sabha also has passed this. Now it is pending assent with the President, which usually, of course, becomes an act very soon. So, in this backdrop, let us try to understand what this bill was about, what are its key provisions, what was Supreme Court's verdict recently on the appointment of election commissioners. Let us understand also the key issues with this bill and the way forward. So starting with this particular slide here, this bill actually replaced the earlier 1991 bill act, I can say, which was passed by the parliament regarding the election commissioners services and their conditions Act 1991. That means Parliament has the power to make provisions with respect to many constitutional bodies. So in this case, if we talk about Election Commission, it is mentioned in Part 15th of the Constitution, and Articles 324 till 329 talk about the Election Commission and the conduct of elections in India. Most important out of them is Article 324, because this article, clause 1, talks about the direction, superintendence and control of the elections of India for the parliament, state legislatures and for the post of the president, vice president elections. Everything is under the control of the Election Commission of India. And clause 2 of this article mentions that the parliament can make any provisions with respect to the appointment of the election commissioners and their conditions of service. That is why Parliament already made law in 1991, and now this particular bill, which will become an act very soon, this has replaced the 1991 act. So let's try to understand this first. 324 article talks about the appointment of CEC and the ECs. Very important point, beginning, earlier it was single member commission, but after 1989, because the burden of the election commission has increased after the 61st Amendment Act 1988, it has reduced the voting age from 21 to 18 years. So this amendment is important here. The burden of election commission will increase. So what happens here? In this year, finally they appoint 3-member commission, which again is there for a short term. But after that, after a few years, again the government brings back the 3-member commission, which is continuing till now. Since 1993 till 2023 now, 20 years have passed, and it is a multi-member body. That means 3 members are there, 1 CEC and 2 other election commissioners. So understand the composition, because that is what we have to discuss now. And the president shall determine the size of this election commission, which means it's not the parliament, but the president from time to time can change the composition of election commission. And next point here, the ECI is responsible for managing elections regarding the, as we discussed, parliament, state legislatures and the president and vice president offices. The constitution says that the president will appoint the CECs and ECs subject to the act passed by the parliament, because parliament can make law regulating the terms and conditions of the election commissioners. So for example, constitution is silent on the qualifications of the election commissioners. Constitution is silent on the term or tenure of the election commissioners. Constitution also did not bar them from any further reappointment. This is very important points. So Constitution is silent on these matters means now it is the parliament which has to fill that particular gap. So in the Constituent Assembly debates, when a debate was going on that who should appoint the election commissioners, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar has mentioned that we need to insulate the appointment of such important offices from the executive. But the other members have not made any such kind of positive remarks on this aspect. So what was done in the end? In the end, they left it to the parliament to decide. That is what happened in the past while making the Constitution of India. So as you can see here, the election machinery should not be under the control of the government as told by B.R. Ambedkar, but the other members agreed and they left it to the discretion of the parliament to make such rules. But the parliament has of course not responded kindly to that. So 1991 parliament passed the act of course, but they did not mention about any panel or any committee regarding the appointment of election commissioners. So as you can see here, the act also set the salary of CEC and the ECs at the same level as Supreme Court judge. same kind of rank is there. It did not provide for their appointment process. This was a loophole here, as we can see, which continued to be decided by the president will directly choose. Okay, that was the previous instance. This was appealed by many people, so including Prashant Bhushan also, and Ashwini Upadhyay, the BJP leader also, and finally Anup Baranwal also was a key petitioner in the case. In March this year, the Supreme Court Constitution Bench, 5-judge bench headed by Justice Joseph, has given an important verdict which actually precipitated the current bill. So what is the verdict about? The case law is Anup Baranwal versus Union of India. So what Supreme Court has told, the appointment should not be done solely by the executive, but there should be a panel which should make the appointment. The court told that appointment is done by a selection committee of 3 members. One is the Prime Minister, other one is the leader of opposition, that means who gets a 10% of the votes, the seats in the house. If not, leader of single largest party and Chief Justice of India. So this panel should be actually appointing, just like CBI director, this panel should be selecting the election commissioners and the CEC. Fine, that is the Supreme Court verdict in this case. So, and Supreme Court also told that it was a stopgap arrangement. Supreme Court told that until Parliament makes any law, this provision will held to be valid. That means Article 324 Clause 2 gives power for the Parliament to make any rules regarding the appointment of election commissioners. So Supreme Court told until Parliament makes law, this has to be followed. So Parliament has made a law. Now what they have done, they dropped this CGI. We'll discuss about that. Okay. And now the important features of the bill. Election Commission, as we understand, President will periodically fix the number of ECs, same to same as the Constitution says. Appointment, what they have done, the selection committee, what Supreme Court has told, has been tweaked by removing CGI from the panel, CGI, and they added a cabinet minister to be appointed by the Prime Minister. So as you can see, a selection committee will have PM, of course, as usual, a cabinet minister who is appointed or nominated by the Prime Minister himself, and the leader of opposition in Lok Sabha. So the difference here is cabinet minister. It means what now here? 2 government persons, because PM and his minister, and 1 opposition party member. So that is the, again, against the spirit of the Supreme Court judgment, as we can understand, because again, executive, the government gets the upper hand. Okay, and for them, will they randomly appoint? No. There is a search committee also. This is headed by the Minister of Law and Justice and 2 other members. That means 3-member search committee is there, and these 2 members are not below the rank of secretary to the Government of India. They will prepare a panel of 5 persons for consideration of the committee. Okay, that means if I talk about the process here, first Law Minister and 2 other members. This is called as search panel. They will recommend 5 members who are suitable to be appointed as election commissioners. This list is given to the selection committee. Selection committee has who? Prime Minister, cabinet minister, and the leader of opposition or leader of single largest party, whatever is applicable here. Now these people will be selecting among these 5 members who are shortlisted by the Law Minister and 2 other members who are having the rank of at least Secretary to the Government of India. This is the process in which they will choose the election commissioners in the future from now onwards. And what is another point here? The selection committee may consider any person other than those suggested by the committee. It means what? These 5 members suggested by this search committee is not binding on this selection committee. I repeat, this search committee which recommends the 5 members, it is not compulsory for the selection committee to choose among these 5. They can choose any other person also. See how the tweaking is happening here. And also guys, the other loophole also we can say in the bill is that if there is a vacancy in this particular body, let's say there is no LOP or LSP, so what happens? Only PM and cabinet minister are there. That means even if there is a vacancy in selection committee, so still a decision can be taken. That means what? It is not mandatory that the selection committee will always have 3 members in the commission. See, understand the loopholes here guys. Next point here, eligibility criteria. First time they have mentioned, because the Constitution has not mentioned about that. Selection criteria is done on the basis of what here? Person of integrity. Again, this is somewhat vague. Having knowledge and experience in the management and conduct of elections. Okay, and generic points again, but this point is very important. He should have been or is currently secretary or equivalent to the government. That is what mostly IAS rank officers can now be made as election commissioners. That is now the criteria they mentioned in the current act, which was not there in the past. So one important change here also. Term and reappointment, here also a significant change comes. Generally 6 years or 65 years, whichever is earlier is the term of the CEC and the other ECs. Now the same thing has been mentioned in the current act also, bill also. But one important change is what? Like reappointment. They shall not be eligible for reappointment is the new feature in the current bill. Okay, please understand this point. If an EC is appointed as CEC, the overall period of the term may not be more than 6 years. For example, let's say a person who is like CEC is there and other election commissioners are there. If this person already has served 4 years, now if he suddenly became CEC, he can serve for more 2 years only. It's not like freshly are going to start 4 again 6 year. Okay, so aggregate we have to understand not more than 6 years, counting the entire thing here. So 4 means here we have only 2 years left. For example, that means total 6 years. That is the same term what is there in the past also, but the only thing is no further re-eligibility is there for the reappointment also is there, guys. Salary and pension, the bill which was introduced in August had the provision that the salary of these ECs and CECs will now be changed from that of Supreme Court judge to cabinet secretary, which created some issue. Why? Because if we see the protocol, the rank of precedence, 9th order of precedence is the Supreme Court judge and 9th A is the election commission. And 11th is the cabinet secretary when we talk about the protocol list, order of precedence. Okay. Now, what is going on is when the protocol, when the election commissioners are on par with Supreme Court judge, it is quite a dignified position here. But now you are downgrading the salary of these ECs to the cabinet secretary. The cabinet secretary salary is decided by the government on recommendation of the Central Pay Commission. Whereas Supreme Court judge salaries are charged expenditure, okay, and which are non-votable. But of course, there is one other important point. I'll just come back to that. Even though the equivalent salary is there for the Supreme Court judges and the ECs salaries, okay, and the budget what they get, the election commission budget is not a part of the charged expenditure. Means what? Charged expenditure is that expenditure which is non-votable. Expenditure made from is votable. So election commission budget what they get is actually not a part of the charged expenditure. Please note down this point as well. I'll come back to that while discussing the drawbacks here. So salary and pensions are done. So what the government has done, because this criticism came in the bill, in the final bill, they have dropped that provision. They have reverted to the earlier position that the salary of CEC and ECs will be on par with Supreme Court judge, which is as of now 2.5 lakhs Supreme Court judge will draw the salary. Fine. And removal, the bill, and also you can say they can draw pensions and other benefits from the earlier service where they belonged also is another interesting point here regarding pensions. Removal, same to same process, like the CEC can be removed by the president on the recommendation of the parliament like Supreme Court judges. For example, absolute majority is required means what? Majority of total membership plus special majority here means what? 2/3 members present and voting. So this is a special majority which is required to remove the Supreme Court judge in India. Same to same applies for CEC, but there is no parity here, like what the constitution has done. The other election commissioners can be removed by the president on the recommendation of the CEC here, which means this process, which tough process is not applying even now also to the other election commissioners, which means there is no parity here. See, generally they all have same rank, they have same salary, same allowances, and decisions are taken by majority. As of now, there are 3 members. So 2-1 is the majority as of now in the election commission. They are same here, they are same in salary, in pensions, in allowances, but they are not same in the case of removal. That loophole has not been addressed in the current bill also. Of course, because it requires an amendment to the constitution, because that is what the constitution has mentioned. Okay, that is why they have not done probably. Okay, and that is one aspect here. Remaining aspects are what? The legal immunity aspect. This is a new thing again in the bill, which talks about the former ECs or the CECs, the current ECs current CEC, they cannot be held liable for acts done in their official capacity, as is there for the president, as is there for the governors. Okay, immunity is provided. No court can inquire into the cases where the decisions they have been taken. For example, the election commissioners take a lot of decisions with respect to various aspects of elections, model code of conduct, recognition of political parties, allotment of symbols. They are a quasi-judicial body also. Election commissions will be giving opinions regarding the removal of the legislators in India. Article 103, Article 192, okay, for the state legislatures, for the parliament. Okay, what happens here? The president shall consult the election commission to remove the legislators. Of course, as Article 102 talks about what? The disqualification of the MPs in India. For example, let's say undischarged insolvent, unsound mind, acquiring citizenship of other countries. Okay, and they also talk about the other qualifications as the parliament mentions. So in these areas, if they are not citizen of India, undischarged insolvent, or if they have acquired citizenship of other countries, and if they are of unsound mind, then the president shall disqualify the MPs, but he has to consult the opinion of election commission. It is mentioned in Article 103 here. Same goes to the MLS or MLCs also. So election commissioners will take many decisions here. You cannot question them for their official decisions what they take. That is what is the new provision called as legal immunity, safeguarding the current and the previous election commissioners regarding the actions they have taken during their tenure, provided such actions are done in the official duties only, guys. Fine. So these are the new provisions of the bill. Let us see now the loopholes also. Key independence of election commission is very important, because if people should enjoy, the people should have confidence in the legitimacy of the election commission, which means the election commissioners have to be appointed by an independent panel, which is like in the other countries as well, which we will see eventually. So as of now in India, the same process going on, the president will be selecting the election commissioners. But at least Supreme Court has mentioned in Anu Baranwal case that why not a panel which includes leader of opposition and the CGI. That means there is some kind of objectivity in the criteria to appoint the election commissioners, which is now lacking again, because it is the government which is having more say. Because as we understand, selection committee recommendations, okay, dominated by the government here, because PM and cabinet minister, two of them are there, one LOP is there. And the bill says what? Even if the committee is vacant, for example, let's say there is only 2 members are there in the committee, still decisions can be taken. That is one again loophole we can say. Selection committee recommendations to be valid despite the vacancy. Okay, EC is not able to complete 6 years tenure. Supreme Court told in this Anu Baranwal case quite seriously that even though 6 years or 65 years is the tenure of the election commissioners, okay, age or term, many of the election commissioners are appointed at the almost when they are about 63 years or 64 years. That means they are not able to complete the 6-year term. If you give more number of years for the election commissioners, they will be understanding the nitty-gritties. They will be making some reforms in the election process in India. That is what we want. But unfortunately, many of the election commissioners are appointed at the fag end of their careers, and some of them are only for some hundreds of days only. So imagine an election commissioner staying for only a few days. What is the use of that particular post? So the Supreme Court has told that please make sure you provide 6 years compulsorily for the election commissioners, which the current bill does not, properly talk about that. Okay, that is one other loophole we can say. Eligibility criteria, as of we discussed, okay, secretary level rank people can only be now becoming election commissioners. This means some other qualified persons will not be available for the pool to be selected as election commissioner. Which means what here? The point here is, now imagine there are some people who are of high caliber, highly experienced persons and knowledgeable about the elections, but they are not IAS rank officers. Now they cannot be appointed as election commissioners. That is the problem with this particular bill. Selection committee has government members, as we can understand, Prime Minister and the Cabinet Minister is there, fine. It may overlook the search committee suggestions. As we discussed, 5 members are recommended by the search committee, but it is not compulsory for the selection committee to accept among these 5 members. They can choose any other person also. Lack of parity in removal. Yes, now we discussed the point. The other election commissioners cannot be removed like Supreme Court judge, but they can be removed by the president on the recommendation of CEC. So there is no parity here. Administrative independence of the commission. Many former election commissioners have told this, like Lok Sabha, like Rajya Sabha, like these two houses. The election commission also wants an independent secretariat, which they don't have as of now. Their entire budget of election commission is not okay like charged expenditure. Parliament has to vote on their budget, but the other offices, let's say Supreme Court is judge is there, High Court judges are the Supreme Court money is there, and all these UPSC also is there, CAG is there. All these people's money, okay, it's not voted by the Parliament. They are all charged expenditure. But the administrative or the financial aspects of the election commission do not have the same kind of parity with the Supreme Court and High Court judges and the other constitutional bodies like UPSC and CAG. So their expenses are votable by the Parliament. That is one thing where the election commission also is not happy with that. So let us hope in the future, at least as of now the bill does not talk about that. Let's hope in future these decisions are also, these important aspects are addressed. So other aspect here before I wind up, some of the recommendations by various committees in the past regarding the panel to be composed to appoint the election commissioners. So again, everything is again not important for the exam perspective. You can just take up 1 or 2 National Commission for the Review of the Constitution or Law Commission and Supreme Court is enough. Let's see what Goswami committee is saying. For CEC, a panel should be there with the president by CGI, leader of opposition in Lok Sabha, okay, for CEC. For EC, it is what? Appointed by the president by consulting CGI, okay, and leader of opposition in Lok Sabha and CEC. So same points are there here, okay. CEC is coming to elect the other ECs here. That is what the Goswami committee has mentioned. What about the Vajpayee appointed commission to review the working of the constitution? They have told what here? PM, LOP in Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha, Speaker of Lok Sabha, Deputy Chairman of Rajya Sabha, they should be appointing the election commissioner as per this commission. And these two are same. Law Commission, which is neither a constitutional nor statutory body, what they have told? PM, LOP and CGI. Same what Supreme Court told in Anubaral 1 case, PM, LOP and the CGI. These points of course not followed because instead of CGI it is the cabinet minister now, guys. And in other countries, what is the situation? You can see, because you can quote these examples in your mains answers about good practices in various countries. South Africa, president appoints, but on the recommendation of what? 5 members are in South Africa, guys. In 5, 1 should be a judge. Many members cannot be having high profile offices. In USA also, a person cannot be having high profile posts, but in India they told only secretary level person can become the election commissioner. This loophole also is there. Fine, or the drawback we can say, guys. So this president of the Constitutional Court, Human Rights Court representative of Commission of Gender Equality, public prosecutor. See, these people actually suggest or select the election commissioners. 5 are there, okay. And in UK, the monarch of course is the head of the state. The Speaker's Committee on Electoral Commission with the MPs as members oversees the recruitment of election commissioners. The candidates are then approved by the House of Commons and appointed by the British monarch. The Speaker asks the leader of the House to table a motion for an address to appoint the recommended candidates. Quite elaborate procedure is there in the UK to select the election commissioners. And what about USA? President will be selecting, okay, the commission is appointed by the president and confirmed by the Senate. Most of the appointments in USA, like CAG of USA also same process. Supreme Court judge of USA also same process, guys. President and Senate has to confirm. And in Canada, appointed by resolution of the House of Commons, that is the lower house. So all these are the best practices in different countries. Why don't we also follow? So one question for you before I wrap it up. 3 statements are given, guys. Election commissioners and regional commissioners are provided with security of tenure. Pay attention. Second one, election commissioners are subordinate to the chief election commissioner who enjoys a veto over decision making. Third one, election commission is a quasi-judicial body. So 3 statements are there. Mention what is the correct statement or correct statements. I'll be waiting for your comments in the comment box. Hopefully you understood the entire topic here. If you have any questions, please post in the comment box. I'll see you another day with another topic. Keep watching Amigos IAS. Thank you.